This is Suzanne for Rainbow Loom. Today I'll be showing you how to make the triple single with rings bracelet. This is an intermediate level design. To make this bracelet you will need 28A colored bands, 23B colored bands, 22C colored bands, and a C-clip. It's a good idea to have your supplies ready before you begin, so pause the video here until you're ready to follow along. Now, let's get started. Place your loom so that the red arrow is pointing away from you. You'll start by placing 13 A-colored bands along the left side of the loom. We'll start from the center pin. Place an A-colored band from the center out to the left. Then above that, going up the side of the loom. And you'll continue making a single chain up the left side of the loom. We'll fast forward from here till we reach the end. Pause the video until you reach the end as well. Then you stop at the second to the last pin and place the last band into the center. Return to the beginning of the loom. And we'll place our bands going up the right side. Again, we're using A-colored bands. Place from the center to the right. And again, place a single chain up the right side of the loom. We'll fast forward from here until we reach the end of the loom. And like we did before, we stop at the second to the last pin and place the last band into the center. And let's return to the beginning of the loom. Now place 12 B-colored bands up the center of the loom. We'll start from the center pin, place a B band going to the pin behind it, and we'll continue placing one band over the other in a single chain up the center row. We'll fast forward from here until we reach the end of the loom. And there we've placed that last band. We need to place a cap band on this pin, so we grab an A-colored band, place 2 fingers through each side, twist it into a figure 8, turn it back upon itself, and place it on that last pin. Now we need to push all these bands down on the loom because we have a few more steps. Now place 11 C-colored bands along the left side of the loom. We'll place these bands forming a triangle just like that. We'll use the first 2 outside pins and the one in the middle. Then these triangles will overlap as we place them up the side of the loom. Again, each triangle is made using 2 outside pins and 1 center pin. We'll fast forward from here until we reach the end of the loom. And there we stop with the last 2 outside pins and stretch the triangle to the middle one. We return to the beginning of the loom. And then we form the triangles on the right side. Again, we're using the 2 outside pins and the 1 middle pin to form a triangle. And then the triangles will overlap on 1 pin. We'll fast forward from here until we reach the end of the loom. And there we've placed our last C band. We have one last step in placing our bands. Before that, we'll do just another quick step to push our bands down, and then we'll place this next series of bands. We'll be using B bands that we'll place along the center of the loom. Start from the second pin and place a triangle using the second pins on each row. Then you move up to the third row and form another triangle. We continue forming triangles using each row of pins until we reach the end of the loom. We'll fast forward from here until we reach the end. And there we finished placing all of our bands. Now we're ready to start looping the bands. Turn your loom so that the red arrow is pointing toward you. We'll start looping the first row of bands up the center of the loom. We'll start from the middle pin. With your hook, pull back the cap band, grab the B colored band, and pull it forward. Then you'll pull the next one. You have to pull all the bands back that are above the B band and then pull that forward. Do that again. And we'll continue looping these bands up the center row of the loom. We'll fast forward from here until we reach the end. And there we looped the last band on the center pin. We'll go back to the beginning, and now we'll loop the left side. Pull back the cap band, and you'll be looping this A band out to the left. You're going to grab the top band if they were placed in the right order, hold the cap band down, and loop that out to the left. Then we'll loop the next band up the side, pull all the bands above that band back. If they're too close together, you can always separate them so that it'll be easier for you to find. With your hook, pull all the bands above that band back, grab the band and loop it forward. You can tell you've looped the right band because it's formed that teardrop shape. Now we're ready to loop the next band. As you notice, we have that pink band in this one. That's the triangular shape band. We need to pull those back as we loop the A band and pull that forward. That's how we interconnect all of these bands. You must pull them back and loop through them. We'll continue looping up the left side of the loom until we reach the end. And then this last band will loop into the center pin, and then we return to the beginning of the loom. Now we'll loop the right side of the loom. Pull back the cap band and loop that band out to the right. Then loop forward. Again, if they're all bunched up, you can separate them with your finger if that makes it easier. Pull all the bands above it back, grab it, and pull it forward. Watch this pink band as we pull them back. Grab the A band and pull it forward. We'll continue looping these bands up the right side. We'll fast forward from here. And this last band will be looped to the center. And there we finish looping all of our bands. Now that we've finished looping the bands, we're ready to finish the bracelet. Pull all of the bands on that last pin up to the top. Then slide your hook down through the channel of that last pin and tilt it out to the side. Make sure you have all of the bands around your hook. Place an A band over the end of your hook, pull back, then slide your hook back up through the channel and pull both bands up onto your hook and then slide them to the thickest part. Now with your fingers, start pulling the bands from the loom and then lift your bracelet. If made on one loom, this bracelet will need to be extended to fit a wrist comfortably. Place your loom so that the red arrow is pointing away from you. You'll use one side of the loom to place the bands that you will be using to form the extension. Smaller wrists may only need 3 or 4 bands. Larger wrists may need 6 or more, so you place the bands for your extension along one side of the loom. And then once you've placed your bands, you'll place the cap band from your bracelet on this last pin to the one behind it. So you get your bracelet, there's the cap band, and you'll stretch that from the last pin to the one behind it. Now you loop the bands that you made your extension with. And then once you get to the end, you stretch those bands to the center pin. This creates an area where you can attach your C-clip. You grab your C-clip with the open side facing forward and place that over the bands. Once that's on there securely, you can lift your extension from the loom. On the other end of your bracelet, pull the hook away, slide your 2 fingers into those bands, and that creates another area that you can attach your C-clip to the other side. Once you've done that, you're all set, and there you have your finished triple single with rings bracelet.